3. Psychopathic children. Stories of murderous children and psychopaths have an aura of shock at how surprising it is to discover that there are minors who have ever dared to take another person's life. You'll see a lot of people with mental illnesses in this video, but you'll also see kids who acted this way because of their upbringing or social situation. The blended family relationship between Christopher Brown and Kenzie Hawk appeared to be working quite well. On February 20th, 2009, Hawk and the kids got ready for the day while Christopher left for work. Jordan was awakened by Janessa and the two headed off to school together. A landscaper discovered Adeline sobbing in the entryway of their Wampum, Pennsylvania house. She needed to tell anyone who saw her in anguish that her mother, Kenzie Hawk, had passed away. There were no DNA or fingerprint hints discovered during the inquiry that could suggest Jordan was Hawk's murderer. There were two basic hypotheses. Either Hawk, 26, had been killed by a stranger who broke into their home after the children had left for school, or the most crucial information in this passage is that Jordan killed Hawk, his dad's fiancée, when she was asleep, cleaned the shotgun, and put it back where it belonged. When the family was questioned shortly after Hawk's passing, Janessa's account had changed. Jordan Brown's father, Christopher Brown, had an alibi because he was employed at the time. Other suspects were sought out by police, among them Jordan, who initially claimed to have seen a black truck pass by his house that morning, but then recanted this account. After conducting all the interviews, the police asserted that Jordan had killed his intended stepmother, exited the house, and laid a shotgun shell on the ground, and then boarded the school bus with Janessa. Jordan's motivation, according to the investigators, must be jealousy of the newborn child. The most significant information in this letter is that Jordan Brown, Hawk's 11-year-old son, was dragged from his bed by police in the middle of the night. Adam Harvey, Hawk's ex-partner, was also excluded as a suspect. Jordan was brought unattended and puzzled to the county jail. Christopher visited his kid every day for the next 9 years, bringing him fancy novels to take his mind off of being incarcerated. This instance demonstrates the stress and worry that the Hawk families experienced as a result of the protective order she had against him. Prior to his trial, Jordan Brown, a 5th grader, spent 3 years residing at the Edmund L. Thomas Adolescent Detention Center. He had always insisted he was not responsible for Hawk's death, but because Hawk's family and the police were on his side, he was trapped in the juvenile incarceration system. Amnesty International claimed that Brown's human rights were being violated because of his age, and that America is the only nation on Earth where children can be given life sentences without the possibility of parole. Jordan was convicted of first-degree murder in 2012, and the contentious decision was reached by the trial judge in just 3 days. In 2016, 7 years after the murder of Kenzie Hawk, Jordan was discharged from juvenile jail. It took until 2018 for his allegations to be formally thrown out. Jordan cannot be charged again with the same offense, according to the Supreme Court, which found that there was insufficient evidence to conclusively prove that he had committed the crime. Jordan filed a lawsuit in 2020 against the state police officers who were engaged in this case. He went to college to study criminal justice and computer technology with the goal of representing the next generation of accused children in civil rights cases. He seeks recompense for the nearly 10 years of his youth and adolescence that he spent in prison. In the village of Savona, in the heart of Steuben County, close to State Route 17, now Interstate 86, Derek, then 4 years old, lived. Dale and Doreen Robbie, who still reside nearby, are his parents. Derek, the elder of 2 children, was described by his mother as a wonderful child, and he frequently delighted in participating in recreational activities in a nearby park. At the time of Derek's passing, Eric Smith, now 42 and a resident of Savona, was just 13 years old. According to the testimony Smith provided at his most recent appearance before the State Board of Parole, he grew up in an abusive family and experienced bullying from peers for my ears, my glasses, being short, my red hair, pretty much all of those. Much later, Smith acknowledged having unresolved anger problems brought on by years of mistreatment. On August 2, 1993, Derek was traveling on foot from his house to a local park in Savona, where he intended to participate in a recreational activity. He was stopped by Smith along the way, and after luring him into a remote location, Smith battered, strangled, and sexually assaulted him. Derek's death was first widely believed to have been caused by some faceless vagabond traveling through Savona due to its closeness to a major highway. Smith confessed to his involvement to Derek's family a week after his death was found, and a ferocious manhunt for his killer began. Because of the emotional and physical violence he experienced at home and the bullying he experienced in school, Smith admitted before the parole board that he carried a lot of anger. Smith claimed that on the day Derek was slain, he was already in a terrible mood when he rode his bicycle to the Village of Savona outdoor activity program, only to discover that it wasn't open yet. Because of that, Smith claimed that he was considerably more irritated than usual. So when he saw Derek walking, he made the snap decision to avenge the younger guy. In 1994, Smith was tried as an adult in Steuben County Court and found guilty of second-degree murder. Prior to 2001, when he was transferred to a state prison, primarily the Woodbourne Correctional Facility, after receiving a term of 9 years to life in prison, he was housed in a juvenile facility. The next year, he first qualified for parole. Before being released after a hearing before the Board of Parole in October 2021, Smith had been rejected for parole 10 times. According to a transcript of the October hearing, Smith expressed sincere remorse for killing Derek, saying that he became the bully that I disliked in my life, and that Derek didn't deserve his fate. The board also observed that Smith had only received 3 disciplinary citations during his detention, with the most recent one coming in 2005. Smith also told the board that while he was incarcerated, he learned many valuable lessons, such as how to manage his anger and recognize the worth of a human life. Smith had intentions of relocating to Queens County after being released from Woodbourne Correctional Facility in February, according to the State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. Smith disclosed to the parole board that he is engaged to be married to a woman who first got in touch with him while he was a law student and researching the juvenile justice system. He added that he had certificates in electrical installation and carpentry fabrication, and that he will likely hunt for a job in one of those industries. Smith's parole includes a number of restrictions, such as not being allowed to mingle with anyone who is known to be involved in unlawful activities, not being allowed to leave New York State without permission, and requiring regular contact with his parole supervisor. Every time Smith qualified for parole, Dale and Doreen Robbie opposed his release. They also lobbied for state legislation that would change the present 2-year waiting period before parole hearings for violent felons to 5 years, so that they and other victims of violent crimes would not constantly have to revisit upsetting memories. After Smith was finally given his freedom, the Robbies first refrained from making any public statements regarding the issue. They chose to partake in the 48-hour segment so they could discuss Derek and the good things that came out of the tragedy, including a new baseball field in Savona. When tragedy hits, Dale Robbie advises people to lean on one another for support and to strive to keep their minds on the positive aspects of their lives. Alicia's parents were divorced, and she was residing with her father and paternal grandparents at the time of her abduction on July 2, 2018, on the picturesque Isle of Bute. Aaron Campbell was feeling down and restless that evening, not too far from that residence, after a party with friends. That night, his drug craving could set him on the course for atrocious acts of violence. Campbell's early life didn't reveal anything about this potential. Despite a history of self-harm and despair, he was a well-liked young man in his community, with a small group of friends who admired his dark sense of humor. He had uploaded videos of himself doing unremarkable stuff like jumping up and down on a trampoline and playing video games, despite having aspirations to become a YouTuber. Even the seemingly ominous things he occasionally said, such as a Facebook message where he said he might kill one day for the lifetime experience, would likely have been dismissed as teen bravado or awkward attempts at humor if they had been widely known prior to his crime. On the evening of July 1st, 2018, Campbell had about 15 friends over to his spacious home as Alicia dozed off after watching a Peppa Pig DVD in her bedroom. After the party's midnight conclusion, a buddy noticed that Campbell appeared uncomfortably down. Campbell sent out messages a little while later to inquire if anyone might sell him marijuana. Given that Campbell had previously purchased cocaine from them, they included Robert McPhail, Alicia's father, and Tony McLarlin, Robert's girlfriend. After receiving no response, Campbell devised a plan to snoop to McPhail's home and steal the marijuana he believed was inside. He traveled a short distance in the early hours of July 2nd and entered easily without arousing anyone. But once inside, he caught a glimpse of Alicia dozing off in her bedroom, and seeing the helpless youngster obviously stoked the sinister emotions he had been harboring in secret for some time. He later stated frankly, "Once I saw her, all I thought about was killing her." Alicia was carefully transferred from her bed by Campbell, who then snuck out of the house. He later claimed that he was walking by the coastline when she woke up in his arms, and he soothed her by introducing himself as her father's friend. He then raped the youngster, killed her, and dumped her body on a hotel property in the instance that followed. Around 6 in the morning, while Alicia's grandfather was getting ready for work, he found her bed empty and called the police. Tony McLachlan attempted to call Campbell back after noticing that he had left him a message the previous evening. He told her it didn't matter in his laughing emoji reply. Alicia had gone missing, so when she told him, he said, "I'm sure she's not gone too far." Soon after Alicia's body was discovered, a major quest for the murderer began. Campbell's mother, who had CCTV cameras installed outside of her home, was the one who made the discovery. She hoped that perhaps they had discovered something odd during the night. She was shocked to see her kid entering and exiting the residence in the wee hours, though. DNA evidence linked Aaron Campbell to Alicia, leading to a suspicion of murder and subsequent arrest. Campbell outrageously claimed Tony McLachlan was the murderer during a torturous trial, planting Campbell's semen using the condom from their encounter at the crime scene. After decades of dealing with depravity, the court found Campbell guilty of some of the most wicked and evil crimes this court has ever heard of. Before being convicted, Campbell told a prison psychologist the truth, and his psychopathic lack of empathy and guilt were on display when he stated it was very difficult to keep from laughing during the trial. He accepted a sentence of 27 years. However, due to his youth, this was controversially reduced by 3 years. In the years to come, it will be interesting to watch if he is ever declared fit to walk the streets once more. So those were the psychopath children's stories. Whether these children were a product of the environment, simply born evil, or perhaps a mix of both, the thought that a young person can commit such a terrible act like murder is truly disturbing. Let us know which case you found the most horrifying in the comments. If you liked this video, remember to subscribe to our channel for new stories. Thanks for watching.